Go buy coffee for everyone. Rachel, the head of the design department, pulls some coins out of her pocket and tosses them at me. They're a bunch of $1 coins. It's not enough to cover coffee for everyone here, but I guess that doesn't really matter to her. She just wanted to give me a hard time. You're struggling with money, right? Go ahead and take a few if you need. Consider it charity from someone well off. The moment she says that, the entire room of employees starts to tremble. That's rude, Rachel. Huh? What's rude about it? Noah, a fresh hire, speaks up to her, looking pale as a ghost. That man is the chairman. He runs the entire group of companies, including the one we work for. It can't be. I know for a fact he's just poor. Little does Rachel know she's about to walk right into my trap and find herself in a world of trouble. My name is Aaron Kirk. I'm a 48-year-old guy who looks forward to an annual overseas trip every year. I also have a beautiful wife and 6 kids. My kids range in age from 10 years to just a few months old. They're all incredibly lively, and every time I get home, I get reports like these. Aaron, the little ones were fighting today. They're just overflowing with energy. You'll have to play with them on the weekend. I'm sure they'll calm down a bit if you go all out. Dad. I went grocery shopping with Mom today, but we didn't get rice because it was way too heavy. I carried 2 bags. But that's barely enough for us, right? Could you drive us to the store this weekend? I'm glad they're growing up strong and healthy, but handling so many kids comes with its own challenges. Fortunately, I've got a good amount of stamina for my age, so I'm still able to keep up with my kids, for now. Still, I worry a bit about the day when I get older, and my energy starts to wane. I can only hope they'll mellow out a bit by then. For now, I need to keep providing for my family of 8, which keeps me busy every day. On top of that, I can't let my guard down at work since I hold the responsible position of chairman of the company group. Recently, I've been blending in with the general employees more often to make sure no internal issues go unnoticed, so I'm feeling a bit worn out. Some employees who recognize me even say, "Mr. Kirk, you look a bit tired, so I'm planning to schedule a break soon." But I have no regrets about having a big family. Growing up, my parents both worked, and I spent a lot of time feeling lonely. Aaron, you're such a good boy for staying home quietly. You're a big help. Exactly. We're able to work because you're not a troublemaker, Aaron. They never realized how lonely I felt inside, even though they said things like this all the time. Of course, expanding a family without a plan is not ideal, so I waited until I was financially stable before starting one. I didn't get married until I had a steady income from the business I started in my 20s. When I met the right person in my 30s, I made sure we talked about our future plans, and then I proposed like this. I spent a lot of time feeling lonely growing up, so I've always dreamed of having a big family. I don't mean right away, but if that's okay with you, will you marry me? I'd love that. I've always wanted a big family too. Let's build a lively home together. From that point on, we worked hard together. The business grew steadily, and by my mid-30s, we were financially secure and blessed with 6 kids. Every one of my children is precious to me, and just having them born as our kids fills me with joy. I feel like I could tackle any kind of work as long as it's for their sake. In early September, with the air gradually cooling and the usual lively morning noises from my kids, I left home after my wife handed me a lunchbox. As I drove to my job at the furniture manufacturing company, I could feel the season beginning to change. That's because decorations around the company that bring a sense of fall have been increasing. Paper leaves are taped to the windows, and acorn ornaments are placed on the tables in the break room. Even though the office is a place to work, focusing only on tasks can wear people down. I truly appreciate the employees who take the time to create these little touches. Passing by a hallway window, I glanced at the paper leaves carefully crafted and stuck to the glass. The meticulous work showed the creator's diligence and attention to detail. Looking further down the hall, I saw a young man putting up the last decoration on a window. I approached him afterward. "Thanks for your hard work this morning. You've got a real knack for making these decorations." He turned to me with a surprised expression. "Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Hearing that from you makes me happy." He seemed nervous and apparently knew I was the chairman. He should be one of the employees who joined the company this year. His name is Noah. He's in his 20s, and I heard from a close interviewer that he made quite a good impression during the interview. I recalled that he was juggling multiple part-time jobs to support his large family, which made him more memorable than other new hires. "I heard a bit about you from the interview team. I understand you've got quite a large family? Isn't that tough?" "Sure, it can be challenging, but there are just as many fun times, so it balances out." Noah responded with a shy smile, scratching his head. He didn't look like he was pretending, which made me smile in return. "I also heard you're the eldest, so I assume you're the one helping to look after your younger siblings?" "Yes, that's true. But I enjoy being around kids, and it's fun to watch them grow. Besides, the neighbors are there to help when things get rough." "Good to hear. People who grow up in large families often have little personal time and may deal with stress. So I was relieved to see he didn't feel burdened by his family situation. After we exchanged a few words about our family lives, I felt we had connected a bit and decided to ask him about work. "How's work going?" "I heard you were assigned to the design department." "Well, honestly, I'm not performing too well. I'm not much of an asset yet." "Is that so?" "These decorations look quite detailed and well made to me. I hope you'll get a chance to try different tasks around here." As I studied the decorations on the window, I genuinely admired his work. I don't know much about design, but these decorations seemed meticulously crafted. My boss says I'm 100 years too early to be trusted with real tasks. I suppose I still have a long way to go. Noah slumped his shoulders, looking downcast. Since I'm no expert in his field, I avoided giving specific advice and offered a simple encouragement. "I've heard you're a dedicated employee. If you keep up your efforts, I'm sure you'll be recognized in time." "Thank you." After patting him on the shoulder with a smile, I moved on only to hear someone shouting moments later. "Noah! How long are you going to waste time on that nonsense? There's plenty of work to do, so get back to the office. This is why you're so useless. Poor people like you really are hopeless. Sorry, Rachel. I'll be right there." I just rounded a corner, so I couldn't see who was speaking. Feeling curious, I retraced my steps a bit, but by the time I looked around the corner, no one was there. A few hours later, as I worked in my office, I noticed it was already past lunchtime, so I decided to take a break. Though my lunch break was delayed, it was unavoidable, given the careful preparations needed for our new product launch. The furniture we're about to release is a bit different from our previous lines, so we're taking extra care to inspect every detail. Recently, a customer got injured at a competing furniture company, so we decided to prioritize safety in our new designs. We've been holding thorough discussions with the team, ensuring that we overlook nothing. For that reason, I found myself immersed in the product documentation, finally taking a break about 30 minutes after the start of lunchtime. Rubbing my tired shoulders from a long day's work, I stepped away from my desk and headed toward my locker to grab my bag. Opening it, I pulled out the lunchbox my wife, Monica, had packed for me. Today's meal was the minced meat rice I'd been looking forward to, but when I opened the lid, it was empty. Huh, that's odd. I murmured to myself, scratching my head. Monica may be calm now, but I've heard stories of her wild high school days, swinging around a baseball bat. Still, she's been making lunch every day since she was young, so her lunches are always high quality. Her cooking skills, developed over the years, have only improved as she's taken on the challenge of feeding our growing kids. And every dish she makes is delicious. This time, though, it seems she accidentally grabbed an empty lunchbox. With 6 kids to look after, this sort of thing happens from time to time. So, I quickly decided not to fuss over it and planned to eat out instead. As I headed to the company entrance, I saw Monica coming toward me. It seemed she'd had some shopping planned nearby and came to drop off my lunch while she was out. Honey, I was planning to shop at the department store near your office, so I brought this for you. Sorry about the mix-up. Here's your minced meat rice. The lunchbox handed to me is wrapped in a drawstring bag made from patchwork quilt fabric. It was a bit rough-looking, probably because she just started this new hobby. Our kids are all quite rambunctious, so without sewing skills, their clothes would quickly wear out and become unusable. That's why she has been working hard to improve her sewing skills, even though she finds it challenging. Thanks for going out of your way. Looks like you put some extra thought into your outfit today, too. Thanking her, I took the lunchbox and noticed her outfit. She loves distressed jeans and always wears them when she's in the mood to dress up. Today is no exception. She's wearing a jacket made of ripped denim. Perhaps to match, the tote bag on her arm is also denim, with noticeable fraying. It's handmade by Monica, not store-bought, so even an amateur could tell the stitching is a bit rough. I may be getting older, but I still want to dress up now and then. Wearing this stuff reminds me of high school. It makes me feel young again. Your wild days, huh? I remember you saying you wore ripped jeans back then too. Age doesn't matter when it comes to style, and it suits you well. You look younger than your years. Hee hee, thank you. My indirect compliment seemed to please her, and she did a quick spin to show off her outfit. Watching her, I heard snickering from a distance. Look at those poor folks, acting all excited. Can't believe they're chatting away in those raggedy clothes. I'd die of embarrassment walking around like that. Can you believe people that poor work at our company? The voice belonged to Rachel, head of the design department. She was decked out in flashy brand-name jewelry and accessories. Though she became department head in her 20s, rumors in the office suggested her rise was due to connections. It seemed she'd misjudged Monica's style. I shot her an annoyed look, but she quickly walked off. Annoyed, I decided to brush it off and continued chatting with Monica, quickly forgetting the incident. A few days later, it was time for our monthly morning assembly. The morning assembly is held in the company courtyard. So those who have arrived place their belongings in their lockers or on their desks and then head back outside. The courtyard is planted with flowers and trees, allowing everyone to enjoy the seasonal nature, which makes it a refreshing alternative to holding the assembly in an indoor meeting room or auditorium. It's much more popular than indoor assemblies. Although it was autumn, the temperature was still warm, so I made sure to hydrate before heading out. Usually, our president leads the assembly, but today I was scheduled to give a short address as chairman. While waiting outside, I noticed Noah approaching and calling out to me. "Good to see you, Mr. Kirk. Hasn't been that long." has it?" We exchanged a bit of small talk, but I noticed he looked pale. Worried, I asked him, "Are you all right? You don't have to attend the assembly if you're not feeling up to it." "I'll be fine. I am a bit tired, but I'm used to it." Lately, though, Rachel's been on my case about a lot of things. It seemed like he might be dealing with exhaustion from the stress. Looking closely at Noah's face, I could see dark circles under his eyes. He kept insisting he was fine, but I didn't want to take any risks. Maybe, as chairman, I should insist he take a break. But before I could make a decision, our conversation shifted. "By the way, isn't the meeting about the new product coming up soon?" "Yes, it is. Since this launch is different from our usual products, it's taken a bit longer. The head of the design department, Rachel, always attends those meetings. I apologize if she causes any trouble. She's determined to make herself the center of attention again." I recalled the look on Rachel's face at the entrance the other day. Her remarks toward my wife were unforgivable, but for now, I decided to set that aside. Some employees have questionable personalities yet do their jobs well. I wondered which side she fell on. Dressed in flashy brand name items, she certainly seemed to crave attention. I wish someone in our department could stand up to her, but it's not that easy. It's tough to speak up to a superior. That's just how it is sometimes. As I watched Noah's worried expression, the subject of our conversation appeared. "EW. Isn't that the poor woman's husband? Don't come near me, I might catch your poverty." The one who spoke in a high-pitched voice was Rachel, sweating and looking hot. She cast a look full of disgust in my direction, pinching her nose and gesturing as if to shoo me away. It seemed she genuinely despised people she saw as poor, casting a contemptuous glance my way. To be so openly hateful toward those less fortunate. It's already September, and it's still so hot. Dabbing her forehead with a designer handkerchief, she seemed to get an idea, her expression changing. Rachel spoke those words to me, struggling to hold back a sly grin. "Go buy coffee for everyone." Rachel pulled out her coin purse and threw something at me. It was a handful of $1 coins. It wasn't enough to cover drinks for everyone here, but that clearly didn't matter to her. She just wanted to humiliate me. "You're poor, aren't you? Feel free to keep a few for yourself. Think of it as a little charity from someone wealthy." At that moment, the entire crowd fell silent and everyone froze. In the tense quiet, Noah was the first to break the silence. "That's out of line, Rachel." "Huh? What are you talking about?" Noah, his face pale, glanced at me and then spoke to Rachel. "That man is our chairman. He oversees our company and the entire group." "Impossible. I know for a fact he's just a poor nobody." Rachel pointed at me and laughed, but the people around her started to look worried, some even sweating nervously as they addressed her. "Rachel, how could you say such a thing to Mr. Kirk? Throwing coins at someone is completely unacceptable." The murmurs grew louder, and it was clear the assembly was now completely derailed. "What's wrong with you all? Are you trying to trick me or something?" Not wanting to waste more time on her, a few employees stepped forward, bowing their heads apologetically. I shifted my gaze away from Rachel to address them. I'm concerned about her, but I also need to reassure them, as they seem overly worried about me. Before settling into my current role as chairman, I had experience working as president. During that time, I was known for my strict approach, and I always addressed any lapses in workplace conduct. So perhaps that's why they seemed to be a bit intimidated. Choosing my words carefully, I spoke up to calm them. I don't have any issues with any of you except for Rachel. So, please try not to feel so tense. Even so, the atmosphere didn't fully relax. As I scratched my head, wondering what else I could say, Noah spoke up, sensing the situation. "Excuse me, sir. Would you mind stepping aside with me for a private conversation?" Encouraged by Noah, I moved away from the group gathered for the morning meeting. With my departure, the employees who had been visibly tense moments earlier seemed to relax just a little. I couldn't help but feel grateful for Noah's assistance. He then began to explain the details of the situation to me. Since Noah worked in the same department as Rachel, hearing the story directly from someone knowledgeable was incredibly helpful. "Mr. Kirk, I apologize if Rachel said anything offensive. She was only recently promoted to manager through connections and might be a bit out of touch with company matters. She didn't know you were the chairman." Although, of course, her comments would be unacceptable from anyone in the company. "No worries. I understand." To be honest, I did feel slightly annoyed, but showing it wouldn't be fitting for a chairman. So I kept a friendly smile and handled it calmly. My approach to situations like this likely stems from my wife, Monica, who was known as a tough leader in her youth. Monica, who had a reputation for keeping a firm handle on the neighborhood troublemakers, never let her emotions show, maintaining a strict tone as a leader. I'd listened to her stories over the years and have adopted some of those strategies now that I'm in a leadership role myself. Of course, I take a somewhat friendlier approach than she did. Does Rachel usually act like that toward others? Well, yes. Whenever she's unhappy, she tends to throw things nearby at people. Noah hesitated at first but then decided he couldn't defend her anymore, and he shared more details. Apparently, berating colleagues or persistently pointing out mistakes was the least of her behaviors. She was known to mock people struggling financially, even going so far as to take or damage their belongings. Knowing this, I couldn't just ignore it anymore. Rachel would need to face appropriate consequences. What's going on with everyone? Do they actually think he's the chairman? No way. He looked so poor. Confronted by those around her, Rachel seemed bewildered by the reaction. Wait, am I really the bad guy here? Don't look at me like that. You could have told me before I threw those coins. Now what am I supposed to do? It seemed she was finally grasping the severity of the situation. She started breaking into a nervous sweat, staring at me intently. At that moment, Mr. Smith, the company president, arrived. I hadn't noticed the time, but it was already the start of the morning meeting. "What's all this fuss?" With a dignified, stern expression framed by his graying hair, he glanced around, assessing the scene. "Mr. Smith, everyone's saying this person is the chairman." "But that can't be true, right?" Rachel pointed toward me, her voice trembling as she looked to Mr. Smith for confirmation. He cast a look of exasperation in her direction. "What an obvious thing to ask, Rachel." Yes, of course. My apologies. There's no way this poor-looking guy could be the... He is absolutely, without a doubt, the chairman. Didn't you recognize Mr. Kirk? Realizing the truth mid-sentence, Rachel looked utterly shocked, her words suddenly stopping. Leaving her standing there frozen, Mr. Smith invited me to proceed with the morning meeting. "In any case, Mr. Kirk, let's get started with the meeting. We can't keep everyone waiting." "Understood." With Mr. Smith's words, the employees near Rachel began to disperse. Watching this, I made my way toward the platform prepared for the meeting. Stunned, Rachel wandered away, not participating in the meeting, her steps unsteady. From then on, her position in the company weakened. Colleagues from other departments gave her cold looks, distancing themselves from her. The daily strain seemed to wear her down. Eventually, Rachel called me with a faint voice, apologizing. There's no way my phone number as chairman would be accessible to regular employees, so I wonder how she found it. Maybe she used some connections to get it from someone. Sitting in my office, I answered her call, considering what to do as I listened to her voice. What's this about? It's not every day that an employee calls the chairman directly. You certainly have initiative. For now, I asked her what she thought of her recent behavior. I thought I should apologize as quickly as possible. I knew it was inappropriate, but I felt I had to reach out to you. The voice coming through sounded tearful, as if she were genuinely remorseful. While I still hadn't decided on the disciplinary action to take, I thought it might be wise to probe a bit more to understand her perspective. I'm truly sorry. I'm reflecting on my actions. Could you please say something to the other employees on my behalf? It was good to hear her apologize, but I sensed that her self-centered thinking hadn't entirely disappeared. As the head of the design department, it's unacceptable for others to spread disrespectful rumors or make mocking remarks toward me. It disrupts the company's decorum. Listening to her indignant tone, I let out a sigh. She did have a point, but I couldn't help seeing her as someone who clings to authority she doesn't truly possess. What exactly do you want me to do? Oh, it's simple, really. I'll provide a list of names, and I'd like you to reprimand them directly. Certainly, someone who has sincerely apologized shouldn't be subject to harassment, and it's my responsibility to protect dedicated employees. However, my years of experience were telling me something. She was only thinking about herself. I remember having a boss like her back when I was just starting out in my career. That person would often pick on me, finding faults in almost everything I did as a colleague. When I asked why he behaved that way, he would go on about it being for the company or for maintaining order, but in the end, he was simply trying to dominate others for his own satisfaction. For now, I'd need to set a small trap to get to the truth about Rachel's intentions. I understand what you're asking. Oh, thank you so much. But first, I need your assistance with something. Would you be able to join the meeting on the new products? Of course. If you need my expertise, I'd be happy to help. After hanging up the phone, I took out my planner to check my schedule. The day of the meeting was only a few days away. I planned to carefully observe her true nature during that time. When Rachel arrived at the conference room a few days later, she looked overly confident, clearly misunderstanding her role here. Leave it to me, Mr. Kirk. As head of the design department, I'll make sure to provide valuable input for you. She spoke to me in a familiar tone, unaware she was under scrutiny. As the meeting time approached, a large screen was set up at the front of the room, displaying the materials for discussion. Nearby employees began whispering to each other. What do you think will happen in this meeting? We'd narrowed it down to 3 options, but Rachel insisted on adding 2 more. Those extra ones don't even meet usability standards. Though Rachel, seated further away, didn't hear this, I caught every word. She'll be upset if her picks aren't chosen, especially with you working in her department and, given your situation. Yeah, my family isn't well off. I just hope she doesn't take it out on us afterward. She's pretty harsh on anyone struggling financially. Her tearful apology was clearly a sham, and it was obvious she hadn't genuinely reflected on her behavior. As the meeting began, each product concept was displayed on the screen. These pieces of furniture were designed with greater attention to safety than ever before. Recently, there was an accident involving furniture at another company, so we're taking extra care with safety measures. While most designs showed thoughtful safety features, two were excessively adorned with flashy decorations and had no regard for safety. Glancing at Rachel as these two designs were discussed, her self-satisfied expression confirmed her involvement. I couldn't judge just by appearances, so I listened closely to each product's description. In the end, we narrowed the choices down to 3, with the overly ornate ones removed from consideration. Naturally, Rachel looked dissatisfied with this outcome. If I may, I'd like Rachel to share her thoughts on the final 3 choices. Feeling a bit apologetic for taking up extra time, I asked everyone for permission. The other employees nodded, showing their understanding. I was grateful for their patience. What do you think of the final 3 products, Rachel? This was an ideal opportunity to reveal her true intentions, so I invited her to speak. She stood up eagerly, her face lighting up as if she'd been waiting for this moment. These kinds of items don't suit our company at all. You can tell a lot about the backgrounds of the people who came up with these designs. The products I recommended are far superior. Pointing proudly at the screen displaying the remaining options, she wore a triumphant expression. It must have been thought up by some unimaginative, poor person. Clearly, they didn't have a proper education. Rachel didn't realize how off-base her comments were. This meeting was intended to discuss our upcoming products, not to criticize people's backgrounds. In this short time, it became clear that she lacked the qualifications to be a department head. Furthermore, her character issues made her wholly unfit for a leadership role. Excuse me, but we're on a tight schedule. About 10 minutes into Rachel's speech, the male employee in charge of moderating speaks up with a somewhat puzzled expression. Rachel glared at him sharply. How rude to interrupt me. I'm someone personally chosen by Mr. Kirk. Any disrespect toward me is the same as disrespecting him. Rachel, interrupted mid-sentence, lets out an angry shout with a furious expression. It's intense enough that the man opposite her, breaking into a cold sweat, reflexively mutters an apology with a nervous sorry. In truth, his action wasn't wrong, he'd just been overwhelmed by her aggression. Sensing it was time to step in, I walked over to Rachel and placed a hand on her shoulder. She mistakenly assumed I was about to support her. Her confident expression quickly crumbled as I spoke. Rachel, I need you to leave this meeting room immediately. With a cold tone, I nodded toward the door. What? She froze, seemingly unable to process what I'd said. After a few seconds, she looked around, realizing she was indeed the one being addressed. You don't have the qualifications to be part of this meeting. Why not? I kept my expression stern as I addressed her. You brought up irrelevant topics that have nothing to do with our products. We don't need that here. I don't understand. I thought I was saying things in the company's best interests. To her, it probably looked like I'd suddenly turned against her. I didn't say anything unreasonable. You claim to be working for the company, yet extended the meeting unnecessarily. This is a place to discuss our new products, not the people who create them. But I'm not wrong. These 3 products don't suit our brand, they're too focused on safety and lack elegance. Listening to her, I glanced at the products displayed on the screen. They are certainly all plain pieces of furniture with unremarkable designs. Since safety is a priority, the designs are intentionally understated and may not catch the eye. However, this product concept focuses on prioritizing people's safety, so that's exactly as it should be. Who asked you to ignore the product concept and push your personal agenda? As I spoke, glaring at her, Rachel's face turned pale, and she began to tremble. I was invited by you to this meeting. I assumed you agreed with my opinions. You were invited to show that you had reflected on your behavior. I didn't expect everything to have changed. But I didn't anticipate hearing such biased remarks. In that moment, Rachel seemed to realize her mistake. Her strength left her, and she slumped to the floor. In shock, she looked around the room for support, but found none. Realizing her position, she covered her face with her hands and began to cry. I won't tolerate your behavior of looking down on others based on their background. You'll face disciplinary action, including your recent actions. So be prepared to accept it. Today, I decided her demotion right here and now. Shortly afterward, her demotion was made official. The new design department head was reportedly getting along well with the team. Noah shared, I'd been entrusted with more responsibilities, and work is progressing more smoothly now. Rachel complained to various executives about her demotion, but no one supported her. Apparently, she appealed to the person who hired her, but it was to no avail. That's because I had ordered an investigation into the HR manager who appointed Rachel as the department head, ultimately leading to his dismissal. Eventually, Rachel found it unbearable to continue facing the cold stares of everyone in the company. A month after the incident in the conference room, Rachel left the company. Since her departure, the design department under its new head has been achieving better results than ever. I frequently hear how much the atmosphere in the department has improved. This positive shift seems to be driving our company's revenue upward as well. At this rate, we should be able to increase employees' salaries soon. It looks like I'll also be able to take the whole family on our planned family vacation this year. Currently, I'm making plans, considering places like France and the UK that our eldest daughter and son have been wanting to visit. Our family dream is to go on a world tour together one day. To make that dream a reality, I'll need to keep working hard and bringing in revenue. Thinking of all this, I wrapped up my work and headed to my lunch break. After chatting briefly with some senior staff to get a feel for the company's current atmosphere, I opened my lunchbox only to find it empty once again. It seemed Monica had forgotten to pack it. Just as I sighed, a message arrived from my wife titled, "Sorry." In the message, she'd written the following: "I'll bring your lunch over soon, so please wait just a little bit. Oh, by the way, I lent bat to the neighborhood kids. They're putting on a play. Apparently, they'll use it for their school festival in 3 months. Let's go see it if we get the chance." I couldn't help but wonder what kind of play it is, feeling a mix of curiosity and amusement. Recently, Monica has been busy with the kids, so maybe a date together at the festival would be a nice break for her. With renewed determination to work hard and plan something for us, I refocused on my day. While reviewing my emails and missed calls, I noticed a few from Rachel. Before she left the company, she sent a string of emails, presumably in one last attempt to cause trouble. I hadn't bothered to read them. I wondered where she was and what she was doing now. I'd heard rumors that she'd been keeping to herself at home. In hindsight, I felt relieved this situation caught my attention when it did. If we'd allowed the issues in the design department to persist, it could have escalated even further. After going through this experience, I resolved once again to keep a vigilant eye on the company as its chairman. Ensuring a positive work environment for everyone